Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of the Missing Manual. I'm Julia
And
here
I'm
with
JCK.
Jenny, and we are picking up. If you've watched us before, we have been working through the problem of creating these episodes. Not that there's a problem there, but there's a lot of administrative work on the back end to edit, post, and come up with all the content. And so we wanted to start using AI as a second brain or third brain for us. And we did a couple recordings about 2.5 weeks ago. And so we had enough content for about 3 episodes. And now we're back and picking up this project from 2 weeks ago. So we haven't moved forward with it. It's still a little messy to create and get these out. I've got Claude up and running and waiting, but Jenny, you want to talk through any thoughts on how we look at this?
I think it's an important thing to ground people on because, right, like there are times where you get into a groove, you make a lot of work, you make a lot of progress when you're working in AI, and then candidly life gets in the way or
Life
work gets
happens.
in the way. Life happens, right? So we weren't intending on this being an intentional use case, but I think it's also an intentional use case for people because what we're about to do is have the AI help us pick it back up, analyze what we had worked on. If you don't collect the dots, you can't connect the dots. We're intentional about collecting the dots every time that we get to a pausing point, which we had done. Don't forget that AI is there to help you be able to connect some of those dots when you pick something back up. And as a reminder, for those of you who are watching, this is less about automating a podcast. Most of you don't have a podcast. This is about identifying where you have friction or opportunities for automation within what you do at work. A lot about what we talk about on the show is being able to map what's going on, being able to isolate the use cases, and reverse engineer leveraging AI to help. And so this was an example that we could do with you because it's really hard to know what good looks like or to reverse engineer good if you don't know what good looks like. So, or even just to know how to do some of these things. And so we wanted to show you and help you see an example of what this might be.
This could be anything within your work or even personal life that might be a little manual or driving you crazy. I created a project in Claude and we put some memory in it, just giving it, I'll open that up so everyone can see, about the podcast, where we were in our current state. We've talked about creating a voice document so that your AI knows your voice, and Jenny and I each had our own, and we commingled those. So we've got that in here, as well as some of the different tools and resources that we use.
As a reminder, projects are a great way for things that you do in a repeated fashion. And within a project, you can anchor context and grounding so that the AI doesn't have to get up and running every time. And so in this situation, typically a project, whether you're in ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever thing you're in, projects are typically functionality that will exist in generative AI. And what you often have is you've got instructions, you've got memory, and then you've often got files. And so those files you can draw from, which is essentially making a domain specific large language model. So it's like a mini large language model within the big large language model. So it pulls from those specific files. So that's what we're doing. But as you just saw, right, Claude helped Julia be able to queue to connect those dots and then put them into the project files.
Okay. And then the other thing that I want us to consider before we do any work is that Claude has skills that I've added to my Claude experience. And there may be some Claude skills that would work well with this project that we're looking to work on. So now Claude's going to look at what their skills are. And it was the marketing skills specifically that I was thinking about. And so
And
Claude's
she
going to
didn't
see
say
what.
that. But did you see that it knew the context of what we were talking about? And so it specifically pulled out, ooh, I think these marketing ones are going to be best.
Okay, so it's got a couple. Brand review skill, performance report skill, which once we have enough data, right? Draft content skill, SEO audit skill. That one's interesting because Is SEO even so relevant anymore?
I'd rather do AEO, candidly. And for those
Right.
of you who might not know the difference, SEO is search engine optimization, AEO is answer engine optimization.
Are there any AEO audit skills that are available? As we know, the LLMs are moving away from, and specifically Google is moving away from showing company websites and routing most responses into AI.
Actually, Claude, can you do us a favor and can you research all available skills and knowing what we are doing? Can you surface any additional skills that might be applicable and explain your why behind presenting them? If there are any that are immediately most important, please stack rank them in terms of order of importance. Remember that reducing cognitive load with your answers is helpful to ensure that we can see the signal through the noise.
Okay, so based on Jenny's question, it's coming back with several good answers.
But are any of these different, like than what you had before? Or are these just pulling from the same skills?
Campaign plan was new.
Okay.
I think the skill creator was email sequence. It didn't mention Canvas
I'm
or
gonna have to
competitive,
try some of these in my day-to-day
right?
work. This is kind of legit.
Consider spending 20 to 30 minutes using Skill Creator to draft an AEO skill tailored to the missing manual. Once it exists, it can be wired. That's really interesting.
But I think we should build the episode prompt first because if we go back to like issue mitigation, right? Like that's the number one thing and that's what it had told us that we needed to do next. And so how about we have it interview us in order to build the episode prompt properly? We want to choose to begin with the episode prompt first. Can you interview us and walk us step by step through making sure that we are building the best episode prompt that we can given our use case?
What Claude came back with is asking for our process map and how we work on these things. And so we are going to find them and upload them. Can you look in memory and see if you can find process mapping? I believe we did work on this a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not finding it in my files. So the wonderful thing about Claude is when you forget things, if you've worked on it, it can pull up old chats and help you find it.
Let's actually build the process map and the
Yeah.
step by step instructions. And I have been doing this for like work outside of this, and I gotta say, Claude's processing mapping skills are legit. I view the world in systems, and having a visual process map is really important for me. And I think we've started some of this work, but I think there are two different pieces here. We need a functional project, like a process map that from like a Six Sigma standpoint can take us start through finish with everything that's there, but then it needs a corresponding, almost like grounding document that gives the additional context that can't be captured within the process map. I think you have a pretty good starting point based on what you've got there, but I would like you to interview us for the purpose of being able to build and sharpen these two documents. What questions do you have for us before we begin?
I believe that I ran through a process map for the missing manual of everything that I go through in order to take the recordings and bring them to life. Let's see what Gemini comes up with. I found the detailed production workflow we mapped out in your past chat history. Can you provide this in a more detailed step-by-step instruction type of format?
This is a perfect reminder that sometimes we do things in different AIs, but the same thing that we did with Claude, which is like, hey, check my lens. Did we do this? Right? Instead of us manually going through, the old way would have been us searching through our emails, looking through chats, trying to sort order from noise. But we have to ground ourselves and remember that the AI does that for us if we can remember to ask it specifically. And so what Julia did is she went back to Gemini and was able to find that step by step thing. So we have a strong starting point now, and it confirms the skeleton is right. But it's written, if you scroll down, at the level of a training guide for somebody who's never seen the show. It tells you what happens, not how it actually runs in your hands today. Cool.
And one of the things I just want to bring up to anyone watching is I flip between Google and Claude because Claude is pretty expensive. And so I use Google for call recordings and a lot of my day to day. It's where my emails are, it's where I store most of my documents. And then Claude helps me design things at a different way. And I play them off each other a bit. So sometimes I have to go between them to figure out where something is. And so that's just going to be part of my reality right now.
It should be part of all of our reality. We're going to have multiple different models, and there's going to be certain models that are going to be better for certain things too.
Walk me through what the transcript actually looks like when it arrives. Is it clean and exported?
So, as much as we can, we want to make sure to ground, again, like Julie was saying, on, and I think what the AI said as well, is on how it actually works because it can help us if we're able to give it exactly how it goes today, right? Now it knows precisely what lands in Claude at the start of every session. All right, so the handoff moment.
It's asking a couple questions for me. Between Riverside finishing and me opening Claude, what steps am I doing manually today? So let me answer the first question first, and then depending on the length of it, pause until you get the full second answer. So after we finish recording, I will do all of the editing in Riverside, and then I will copy that transcript of the edited video into either Claude or Gemini, but now with this project Claude, in order to start thinking through either what snippets we might want to use for short form videos and to start thinking about the summary for both YouTube and Podbean. And then from there, the social media post, one for Jenny, one for me, and one for the missing manual side. I do the edit first and then I pull the transcript. Let's see, second. So for the clips, I get them in Riverside and then I download them. So I will ask AI for recommendations of clips, but Riverside also does what they call magic moment clips, where they find clips that they think their AI thinks would be good. And a lot of times they're not great. And so I like to have AI help me find better, more thoughtful or purposeful clips that we could use. So the sequence: edit and record, edit in Riverside, pull transcript, paste into Claude. And for the clips, Riverside suggests magic moment. Claude recommends better ones. I download from Riverside. They live on my Mac.
I'm not sure this is something we want to do, but it's something that I've been doing a lot with Claude in browser. And so, as part of this, the project helps create a very specific prompt that we take to in-browser Claude so that it can help Julia automate some of the processes within Riverside itself. Or could in-browser Claude potentially be able to help with any of the manual things Julia has to do candidly in any of the websites she has to go in?
I think that's a great question, Jenny. I'd also want to add just something that's missing is the thumbnail generation. I didn't click on that, and sometimes I use the Riverside created and sometimes I use the Canva or Gemini to create thumbnails, but the Riverside created ones are just okay. I know that we could do better from the YouTube upload, but then that's me going into Canva or somewhere else and doing that and then having to import it back into Riverside to attach it to the video before we export videos. I mean, it would be great if Claude in browser could do some of it. A Canva lock template could eliminate most of the work. Yes. Are you importing the custom thumbnail back into Riverside before you export the final video? So, yes, I would have to import the thumbnail back into Riverside to attach it to the video, although that might not be the best step, as I believe in YouTube upload there is a place where you can upload a thumbnail, so I might not have to use the Riverside option. So you're saying that Claude's going to produce a thumbnail brief and then I'm going to execute it in Canva. Can we not automate that somehow? Okay, what's question 4? It shows YouTube and Podbean getting uploaded separately and LinkedIn posts going out in coordination with you both. That's 3 separate manual steps you're doing on publishing day. I am pre-scheduling usually the day before the Podbean and YouTube and my personal posts. So I will physically be going into YouTube, uploading the video, the thumbnail if we had one, the summary, etc., and then scheduling it for 9 a.m. on Thursday. Same thing with Podbean, same thing with Missing Manual LinkedIn, and same thing with my personal LinkedIn. So it is all being pre-done and then pre-scheduled for usually the next day or 2 days later, depending on timing. Jenny, is there anything you're doing that
I do nothing. I'm pretty useless. I feel so bad.
I didn't know if I would assume when you have time, you're pre-scheduling.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of pre scheduling, I wanted to make sure that that actually worked. It was my first time pre scheduling it. I was so proud of myself yesterday.
Pulling the actual photo of us from the episode. So, question, can we not give Claude some professional photos or semi-professional photos of both Jenny and I to use in the template? Does it have to be something generated from the episode specifically? Okay.
That's a smart move. The JCK likeness problem. It's really comical. So for those of you that don't know, and I apologize if I've a broken record on this because I've said it before in this podcast, but AI tends to struggle with people who are racially ambiguous, which I am. And so some days it'll make me look like I am Native American. Some days it will make me look I'm Italian. Some days it'll just it's hilarious. It just is like whatever the flavor of the day is. And honestly, we should have a post one of these days. It's just like all of the random like a carousel of all the different pictures because I just think they're so fun to look at.
Yeah. Okay, so let's think about this for the workflow. The thumbnail process is Claude looking at the Canva. So that does pull Gemini out of the loop from this. So let's go ahead and update the lanes of the tool and the process map. Let's have the Canva template build be a different session. We want to start moving towards making sure that we've got a full process map done so we can move to generating the prompt. Okay, Jenny's handoff. After Claude produces her LinkedIn post draft, what physically happens next? I send an email to Jenny with the links to the videos, a download of the video short so she can upload it and whatever content that she gets. Because we've trained Claude on our voice, I think that most of the written content is probably about 80% there, more. Okay. And that we've been able to just make small edits before we post things.
Like between you and I, like the most recent ones from the last couple weeks have been 100%. It sounds just like me. So I don't even have to do very much at all. But by the way, if you're building automations, process maps are an important part first because we should not build automations for what we cannot map first.
So we have our full process map.
I would have it check its work for professionalism. Can you go back and QA your work and make sure that it is a high level process map? If there are any improvements that you would make, please make them. I'm seeing some things regarding padding and overlap as a concern, and I just don't want to ship something that isn't 100%. Thank you for your help.
So as you can see, we've got things going out of boxes and or squished together.
One of the things that might be helpful for a next step is to have it build this as a separate downloadable file that we can add into the project files for reference.
For the short clips, I'm usually downloading them from Riverside and emailing them to Jenny or using them for my own uploads. We have not been currently posting them on YouTube, but we are using them for the Missing Manual LinkedIn, Jenny's LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn, and those are all independent downloads. Well, it's one download, I ship it, and we each upload.
So the next step is going to be, now that the map is done, like download as a separate file, and then if Claude needs to upload it into the project, it can, or
when it creates it, I can click add to project.
Perfect. And then we want it to have the actual grounding, like the full process map. They're like the context grounding doc that goes through the whole process that we talked about earlier.
Speak up.
Oh, can you make this an SVG file that's downloadable that we can add to the project that specifically covers the map?
And we want a second document that has the detailed context of each step by step of the process to go along with this map.
As an action item from this, what you should do is review to make sure that this grounding document is accurate. We anchored on the map, then we anchored on the full, here's the process, and here's also where we want to go. And then that process grounding is used as, like ability to generate everything else.
So we probably need a separate working session around our Canva. Add to the project that we will need a separate working session to get the Canva template created if we haven't already done that.
I love it.
Okay, error adding file to project. So let's go look at the project and see what got added. I wonder if it cannot take an SVG.
It can't do an SVG. So it'll be able to, no, it should be able to take an SVG. Or just have it generate, have it make, maybe it's a PNG. Just say it's not able to be uploaded. The map can't be uploaded in the...
Okay, so the project could not take an SVG version. So we're creating this as the process map as a PDF. And then when the PDF is done, we're going to move to working on the prompt to wrap this one up. So it'll take a minute to convert. And now we've got the PDF version. So I always will download things to my computer, and then I will also then save to project. And so now we have both the grounding document and the PDF in the project. So now we need to create our prompt. It has a question. When you sit down to run a session, do you always know immediately whether it's Jenny or Julia running? Or is there sometimes ambiguity that the prompt needs to resolve? I think that it's going to depend on who's Claude, because Jenny, you're going to create your own version of this. I'm going to send all the documents to you. So let me...
So then I can actually help, and it's not just Julia.
We're working on this on Julia's version of Claude, but I'm going to ship all of these documents to Jenny so she can work on her own Claude project and prompt. So there will be no ambiguity on who is generating this because it'll be on each of our individual Claude projects. Is there anything we want the prompt to ask us up front? Episode number, air date, framing notes, or pull everything it needs from the transcript? I think it's pull everything it needs from the transcript. It can pull everything it needs from the transcript, but if there is ambiguity, it should ask us questions if there's anything it's unsure of at any time. Okay, so it is starting to create a prompt for us, which is what we need in order to work through this. Okay, so we've got our prompts. We'll have to read through it, but it's saying it's intentionally short, but if I look at it, it is
it's intentionally short to Claude.
Yeah, but not that short. So during our next episode, we are going to test the prompt to see how well it delivers. The other thing is maybe before we test it, we can test it to see how it runs the output to some extent. So what we want to do here is our handoff document. For our next section. So we're going to, in a future episode, we will be testing this prompt, and we will also be working through some of the other items that are on our to-do list, because the prompt can only do so much of the full list of things that we have not completed yet. So Jenny, do you want to kick us off with getting the handoff? I'll record you getting the handoff created.
Thank you so much, Claude. We've done great work today. It's important that we capture our progress in the form of a handoff document. Can you generate something that will allow us to capture exactly what we've done, decisions we've made, maybe efforts or areas we've decided to go towards that we hadn't before? Again, this is to be able to ground future Claude in exactly where we were at so that we can pick up this conversation in an intentional way. This is not our main gig, so we need to make sure that we collect the dots as much as we can so that we can connect them the next time we need to. Thank you in advance for your help.
This is the most important document we produced today. So, the magic of
Also,
editing.
look
Yep.
at how, like, what I just said was not very clear. I just want to remind people that, like, you do not need to be polished. You just need to be real for AI. So, like, if you look back, I've got a lot of ums. I've got a lot of whatever. It's not the most, again, thought out thing, but AI is able to see what I'm trying to do there and able to connect those dots for me. So it's kind of nice because it allows you to just, like, authentically show up as you. So, anyways.
And just remember the importance of a handoff document. And if you're ever, we've done a lot with Claude today. We've actually been recording for a lot longer than the 20-ish minute video that you'll end up seeing after I edit the heck out of this. But one of the things that you want to make sure, and the importance of the handoff document, is because we've done a lot of work, Claude looks at everything within the conversation, and the context window of how much information it has is probably pretty short. So having the handoff document is really imperative to make sure that we don't miss anything for the next session. So when you're working with AI and Claude, you want to make sure if you're doing a pretty big work effort that you find a good stopping point, create a handoff document, and then move to the next big work effort. You don't want to compile big thinking work efforts on top of each other because it will hallucinate on you, and then you're just going to get frustrated as heck. I've had that experience so many times. So hopefully you can learn from that. So we've now got our handoff document. Hope you enjoyed seeing a little bit, behind the curtain on how we're making this podcast and can apply what we're doing to work efforts that you're working on right now. Jenny, anything to add?
No, just keep trying, guys. I mean, if there's anything that you've learned from us here, it's like you don't always have to have the perfect blueprint to choose to begin. You don't have to know exactly what it is you want. AI can help you be able to sharpen that and share what you're working on. If it can be via message to us too, like if you're excited, if you've tried some of these things yourself, share your wins. We'd love to hear.
Thanks for watching the Missing Manual
Until
or
next
listening.
time.